Hello, my name is Emily and I am an English teacher in South Korea through the company Epik, also known as English Program in Korea. And I have been working as an Epik teacher for a little over a year, and I thought that I would provide a video for those that are interested in teaching as an Epik teacher and are preparing for their interviews. So if you are an applicant who is just trying to make sure you are as prepared as can be for your upcoming interview, then this is the video for you. The most number one thing that I think is important for not only preparing for an Epik interview, but for any interview in general, and I'm sure you've heard this, but I think it's very, very important to just be yourself. Relax. I know that's easier said than done, and for me, what I like to think about is I am meeting a new person. Remind yourself, tell yourself what makes you valuable, because you are. All of us have value in ourselves. Be strong in knowing that. Remind yourself that it's not this scary person that's going to interview you, but just a normal person who's looking for a genuine and dependable person that they can trust to be leading and teaching the students that are in Korea. And also try not to put pressure on yourself to be this specific type of fit. I saw many different types of people and personalities at Epik orientation, and so that's just a testament that you don't have to feel the need to fit into this perfect mold of a teacher. Just be yourself. The second thing that I think is important when preparing for this interview, be confident in knowing what company you are interested in trying to be hired in. Basic things like, what does Epik stand for? What is Epik's mission? What is Epik? And not only is this good to know in case they are to ask you, also so you're more confident in knowing how will I be able to help contribute to their mission and who they are as a company in a positive way. The third thing to just keep in mind is remember that this interview is to become an English teacher. They might ask you more personal questions like, what are your hobbies? Just try to end your questions to where the interviewer will get the feeling that this person that I'm interviewing right now is someone we can trust as an English teacher in our program. Number 4, it's a more surface level type of preparation, and that is just to make sure you look presentable when you are at your interview. So just dress as you would if you were to meet a real person in real life, in a real life interview. You know what I'm saying? Business casual. Plenty of examples and plenty of ideas out there for you. You just want to make a good impression. Unfortunately, good impressions start with what we see. And also make sure that when you talk, you're talking in an audible level. You don't have to feel like you're projecting, hey guys, I'm a YouTuber. Obviously, I feel like everybody knows that. Just make sure that when you're speaking to them, you're speaking with confidence and you're speaking where you can be heard. And now what we're all waiting for, the questions that I prepared for and the answers that I gave during my interview. Let's get into it. So number 1, what is your main motivation for wanting to teach with Epik? I have always valued education, and I believe that Epik has a strong value for education. The fact that Epik's mission is to hire creative and open-minded teachers from all over the world is very commendable, and it shows that not only do they want their students to learn English, but they also want their students to be shown new perspectives of a different culture. And being a person that learned a second language in school, I personally can say I never was given the opportunity to learn the second language from the native speaker of that world, and I wish I had. Why do you want to teach English in Korea? There are many other countries with similar programs. I read in many articles that Korea has one of the best education systems in the world and also is one of the best places to teach English in Korea. Also, I have a genuine interest in learning the Korean language, and I think teaching English in Korea would be the perfect exchange of languages and cultures. What is your teaching philosophy? I believe that education should focus on the students' needs. And I think that all students have their own unique style of learning, and that is important for me to create a student-centered classroom that has autonomy and trust. And in order to do that, I believe I should take the time to really create a trustworthy and positive rapport with my students, so that not only will the students be comfortable with asking me questions and be motivated to listen to me, but also that the students will feel the responsibility to take action in learning as much as they can. Please describe your teaching methodology. My teaching methodology is to be as adaptable and flexible to the needs of my students as much as I can. That means that my teaching method and presentation will always change depending on the student. Not only do I want my students to learn concepts, but I also want them to be able to have the opportunity to practice that concept within the classroom, so that they can take that experience and apply it outside of the classroom. The biggest way I would implement this is having a variety of ways of presenting information, such as games and music and movement, and these can be intertwined together or separately. And I think this is a great way to receive information in different ways so that it can be more memorable for the students, as well as give them an opportunity to interact with me and their peers. How would I handle disruptive students? Being a music therapist in the past, I definitely had my fair share of experiences with students that show disruptive behavior. And the first thing to always keep in mind for myself is to show patience and compassion for those that are showing disruptive behavior, and also make sure to acknowledge and reward students that are showing good behavior and enthusiasm for what is being learned. I also think it is important that at the very beginning I set high standards, and clear rules. That way I can always fall back on those rules and show that I am fair towards all students, because the rules were already put in place. Not only that, I think it's important to make sure I'm aware of what exactly is this disruptive behavior that is happening, and how often is it happening, and who is presenting this disruptive behavior, because every student is different. So it's just very important that I understand who this student is, and that way I can approach each student differently, because each one of them is different. Personally, it is also very important that I reflect on, are my activities and lessons engaging enough? I think that if I have engaging activities, this will definitely minimize disruptive behavior, and making sure that I am showing that I care for the students and their education. And if the students can really see that I care for them and their education, it could potentially minimize the disruptive behavior as well. How will you handle co-teaching? The first thing that I will remember when I'm co-teaching is that it is a joint effort. It's not just me, and it's really important to be just aware that it's you and another person. I will approach my co-teacher with understanding and an open mind, which I also hope that they will do for me as well. Lastly, I think it's important to view this situation as a privilege and an opportunity to learn and grow with another person. What will you do if a co-teacher makes a mistake in front of your students? The first thing I will do is to always treat my co-teacher with respect and remind myself that this is a joint effort. And I also will evaluate the situation and see how significant this mistake is really. Reminding myself that we're all human, it is just a normal occurrence when you're coming to a situation where something didn't quite go the way you wanted it to go. I would make sure to give an opportunity for me and my co-teacher to just be honest with one another and share our thoughts on the situation, and see this as not a roadblock but an opportunity to learn from one another and improve together as co-teachers. What difficulties do you think you'll face when you get to Korea? I think that the biggest challenge when I move to Korea will be the language itself. On the flip side of that coin, I'm really excited to just be in a place where I will always hear Korean because that's the language I am pursuing right now to learn. I heard that the pollution in Korea is more severe than where I'm from, which is Georgia. However, I'm a pretty positive person, and whatever is challenging for me, I know I can always adapt to it in the end. What are potential culture differences you will have, and how will you solve them? I think when it comes to handling culture shock, it's best to really reflect on what exactly happened and how can I learn from this situation, and if it's necessary for me to communicate what I'm feeling to this person. I think the most important thing when considering potential culture shock is to remember that we are all different and we all have our own intentions, and to just practice empathy for others. View people as just people, see everything as a learning opportunity. And the one thing that I think that I might come into contact with when it comes to culture shock is just miscommunication and possibly being disrespectful towards a person without realizing it, and same vice versa towards me. If that's to happen, like I said, I think it's just important to see if it's worth communicating about and how can I communicate in a positive and understanding manner. Lastly, why do you think you are a good fit for this position at Epik? I would be a good fit for Epik because the values and standards I hold for myself are the same values and standards that Epik holds. Epik's overall goal is to improve the language skills of their students while growing through learning about another culture. I also value providing a meaningful and lasting education for my future students. I believe that as a teacher, I have the power and the responsibility to shape my students into individuals that are excited to learn, excited to have goals for themselves, and also be kind to others while they are achieving their goals. That's the standard that Epik has for their teachers, and that's the same standard that I have for myself. So that was the 10 questions and answers that I had prepared for my interview, and it really made me feel confident during my previous interview for Epik. And I hope that this will allow you to feel confident about your soon-to-be interview. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. It helps me out and it helps others be able to find this video. Stay tuned for the next one, which is next week. Bye! The naps are back, the naps are back.